we are going to force you into a second game, of course, but we need to know what nation you're playing. GraveOne.
I have to decide to go with Mexico.
That's interesting.
Initial reactions, Aldra.
Oh no, America.
Okay, well, this is definitely going to be exciting. GraveOne, I have to ask, why Mexico?
With 1.2, I've noticed that America is a lot more aggressive. So I'm kind of hoping if the nation's ruined, Mexico will be. The United States will be aggressive and attack Mexico. So that is kind of my hopes and dreams.
Okay. Interesting. We'll see how it plays out. I guess we should go back and see if we have our casters available, and we'll get their reactions.
Good luck.
Okay. Okay. Mexico.
Look at Veg Man.
What was I saying? I was saying I don't think people will have practiced if they go outside of Europe. If we go outside the great powers, what if someone goes for the USA? Didn't think about Mexico. Oh my lord, I am excited to see what happens here. There's going to be a lot of fire. I can feel it now. It's gonna get hot here.
Habibi, do you think that Aldra will have learned his lesson about destroying a nation?
Yeah, I think this time he's not going to forget releasing nations. However, does Mexico have things to release?
Oh, absolutely.
Do they
California, it's got a lot of
California?
It's got a lot of the Aztec areas. Like you can release some of the Maya and things. There's also some of because in this time period it's got you can lose the war to Texas. There's a lot of the native tribes can be released. So the Pueblo I think can also be released. So there's a lot of border territory that can go.
Yeah, I think this time Aldrahill really he needs to figure out a way to make the TheGraveOne lose money immediately, because I think that played actually a bigger factor than the releasing of nations, because Aldrahill was spending maybe the first half of his game just trying to fix the debt situation.
Yeah.
Well, we are gonna hand it off to you guys so you can look at them ruining Mexico twice over, and then in 5 minutes we'll be back right here.
Thank you.
I am so excited for this. It's an understatement how excited, because we just have one nation that historically in this period was heavily plagued by civil wars, and now we go to the other nation that historically in this period was plagued by many civil wars. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this. I think what this is going to come down to in this first period is how even or uneven the damage is going to be. If Aldra can really pull back that damage and really do enough damage to the TheGraveOne, I think the first game proved that Aldra's ability to fix a nation is far better.
Yeah, I think that there was some decisions made better in the saving state. I really think that it's going to come down, as you were saying, it's really going to come down to the ruining stage. And, to us, 5 minutes might seem like, a decent amount of time. But when you're in the player's seat, from personal perspective, 5 minutes goes by really fast. Incredibly fast. You don't even know. You blink your eyes and 5 minutes are over. So it's really going to come down to clicking and being able to do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. There's totally a reason why I don't play in any of these events. And I only sit and watch them because I'm going, oh yes, you've done that wrong. Because I know full well I personally probably couldn't do it. Anyway, let's get into the game. Let's get them ready to start. I think perhaps I think the TheGraveOne actually might not be at his desk yet. But I think I've sent it anyway. We're going to be in game. He's at his desk. Good. He's on the screen right now. Thank goodness. And there is releasing of nations going on here. He's purposely losing the Texan War, it looks like. If we quickly flip over to Aldra as well. The Rio Grande has been released. The Maya have been released. California is gone. The Pueblo is gone. Those are pretty big nations as well from that release. Mexico is definitely much smaller than its former self. Now, we got to watch the debt. Aldra, make the debt happen. Break everything. Get that debt happening. Go on that speed 5. Again, flipping back.
This time,
It
debt is spiraling faster for Aldrahill. He's learned from his mistakes, and he's making the TheGraveOne lose minus 20k a week versus the minus 6k. And there is the expelled diplomats going on from the TheGraveOne.
Yeah, it's the money is really, really leaving. Deseret also been released. The real question here is, will both of our players make it to the end of the hour when we get into the other hour? Will the USA just come a knocking way too hard here? Because a lot of land has gone on both sides. Noticing how this time both players went, okay, I'm releasing territory first so I don't forget it. Serfdom is also possibly on the cards. Oh dear, this is it's tight. It's really hard to tell right now. The debt is looking worse on one side, unless one bankruptcy has already gone in on the TheGraveOne side. I can't quite tell.
He's already starting the debt spiral again, and he's doing the same thing he did last time. He's trying to make Aldrahill lose as much money as possible. The easiest way to do that is just construction sectors, right? They build in like 5 weeks. So if you just and of course it's like a spiral. The more you build the construction sectors, the faster the spiral will be. Of course, since Mexico starts at the lowest construction method, each construction sector is only giving 2 construction versus previously giving, I believe, 5 construction. So it's not as fast, but we can see the first bankruptcy already coming. TheGraveOne's already starting the first bankruptcy for Aldrahill.
Yeah, look at that. Minus 54,000. On the other hand, we have Aldra only at minus 1.6, but the debt is close. No, 20. Is that? No, yeah, it's 13k. 13k now. It's flipping back and forth so hard. Actually, that's okay. The numbers are all over the place. The numbers are now in the 90 and 100,000s. Both are going to get these debt spirals. The debt is going to be going. These are going to be so broken as nations. Everything is going to be just destroyed. And again, it's going to be real interesting to see who can recover the break the fastest here. With just 2 minutes left, what is left for them to destroy? I'm looking towards restore serfdom. Serfdom has been serfdom has been undone on Aldra's side, and then there's also consumption-based taxation trying to go in. And then with the TheGraveOne, what laws?
He's just trying to ruin the government.
Yeah,
he's not doing anything with the government, with the laws specifically, but he's just putting in a bad government to get as many radicals as fast as possible. Just put in a very unpopular government. I believe he's at 0%, and I think the issue with the construction is happening here, where with Mexico you can't actually cause the double bankruptcy like we saw on France. But we are seeing now that both sides have at least done 1 bankruptcy, which is enough to damage Mexico a lot, especially considering their position.
Yeah, there is a huge standard of living diff as well right now. The TheGraveOne's save is currently 10.4. Aldrahill's save is 8.2.
Yeah, and he's trying to do the construction thing again. But it's a lot slower. One interesting thing I do have to say is because they released a bunch of the tags near the US really will only come into play when they're going on to the aggressive, trying to reclaim land. Of course, US will 99% of the time defend against Mexico when he tries to do a diplomatic play. But yeah, it's both saves, I think, this time are looking pretty equal, I'd have to say.
Yeah, they're looking far more equal and far more broken, if I'm honest. The thing is here, Texas independence, that Texas statehood can happen, obviously. So the US might just get Texas for free, which will put the Rio Grande as the border of Mexico and the US, and they're going to both want to look to regain that territory, which, oh, wow, we are out of time already. That went so quickly. There's so much I want to talk about that, yet we're done already, and they need to stop. We're there. Oh, it's like, Habibi, what do you make of it?
Yeah, it's insane how fast that 5 minutes goes. Like, and especially since they are playing on the remote desktop, these PCs are incredibly fast. Both of them already done nearly 5 years in-game time. It's going to be really interesting to see how each decide to save this. This is not France, so you are in a way harder position in terms of trying to get GDP growth fast as Mexico. One thing that we might see from players is joining the U.S. market. If you do that, if you just join the U.S. market, you know, you could just focus on luxury goods because you can just use America's raw goods and then get the luxury goods out and just make furniture for America and become really rich. That is a strat that they could do this time around.
That's a very good strat. But I think we'll have to find out. But for now, let's throw it back to the studio.
Once again, I mean,
You're speechless.
For whatever reason, it's just fun seeing people ruin. Because you're so used to them being like... And
being so careful.
It's also what we do, like, when it's, for example, Monsters Universalis Duels. It's like people do these really impressive things really quickly, and they build stuff. And now we kind of flip that, and it's like, let's see how quickly they can ruin it.
Yeah, I mean, I get a little anxiety watching it. Being whenever you play Paradox games, you have to be so careful and manage your government so carefully, and then you just see them tearing it apart, which, honestly, since I don't have to play it, I find it highly amusing, but I can only imagine going into one of these things, what it must be like for them. And as we noticed, Aldra learned his lesson.
He did. And I think it's also kind of interesting now that we've done one of these, right? We've seen how they can play out, and we'll see how different this one is in Mexico. But the ruining matters a lot. If you're better at it and you come in with an advantage towards your opponent, you're set.
Yeah, and I mean, especially since Aldra actually managed to do as well as he did after the whooping that he took from the TheGraveOne. It'll be interesting to see what he can do with this next save. And
this is, of course, Graves' pick for the nation to play. So let's see how he felt that went. TheGraveOne, Mexico.
How do you feel?
I felt better with France, which is crazy because it wasn't my pick. But yeah, I felt like after doing France, I felt like France, there's a lot more to mess up. Like there was a lot more that you could mess up, and there's 5 minutes wasn't enough. I felt with Mexico, 5 minutes was enough to mess it all up. Like there wasn't much more you could like do. So I think the ruining is going to be closer in this one than the last one.
So do you then expect to come in essentially at a level that you left the save to Aldra?
Yes, I think that it's just going to be mine will be just as bad as his.
Well, it's interesting that you say that.
Let's go talk to Aldra.
Oh, that sounded way more ominous than I needed it to be. I'm sure.
Hello,
Aldra. How are you? How are you feeling this time around?
Feeling much better. I remembered to release nations.
You did.
I remembered that the ledger is here. I remembered that you can bankruptcy people. It's like a whole new game now.
Ooh.
So you got a little bit more comfortable. Were you more relaxed this time around? Less nervous, maybe?
You can read me so well. It's on my face, isn't it? Yeah, I'm smooth. I'm ready. I want to win this.
So do you expect to go into the save that TheGraveOne has ruined for you and have it be kind of the same state that you've left the save for TheGraveOne this time around?
Yeah, I think we've both seen what we can do to each other now. I think we kind of pushed the limits. Now I think we're ready. I think it's going to be pretty much identical. Let's just see how much bankruptcy has given me.
Okay, and we saw some... Habibi had some ideas for how to play this scenario. Do you have an idea of what you want to do?
I want to try and keep it pretty similar to France, but I like the idea of doing quite a lot of war and just try to grab as much GDP-producing states as possible, as many factories and people as possible, and just be really quick on the mouse. Get to like 1870.
Are you going to stay at speed 5?
Oh yeah, whole time.
Okay.
Good. Happy to hear it.
It's the name of the competition.
Aldra, best of luck, and we'll see you after the 60 minutes are up. Let's throw it to our casters so they can get this game on the go.
So, this is it. We've got 60 minutes now for both of these players to, like they say, recover some very relatively even, but very, very toxically broken save files here. I just wanted to clarify a point that you were talking about joining the US market. What about joining the British market and then possibly using that to destroy the US and get US territory?
That honestly is a great idea. And if you could become a protectorate of a state, protectorates don't make you lose revenue. Unlike being a puppet where you lose a certain percentage of your revenue, being a protectorate gives you the benefit of being in the market, being protected by that nation, and also, biggest thing being in their market. Because like I was mentioning on France, to increase your GDP, of course, you do need to get the raw materials. You need like tools, you need coal, you need iron. However, if you just don't need to make that stuff and you can immediately start making the high goods, especially like furniture and luxury clothes, you can increase your GDP really, really fast. We've seen that strategy from the very early days of Victoria 3, even before it came out. I believe it was the Spiffing Brit who reached insane GDP on a small nation. And if you do, what you can also do is, because you're in their market, if you open your borders and you increase the standard of living, you can actually make people come to your nation, and you can get a lot of population that way, and you don't even need to do any conquering. You can just stay the size you are. The challenge though is joining that market.
Yeah, that is wild. Right, let's not hold on for any longer. Let's get into this game. Okay, so here we have it. The TheGraveOne now looking straight at his political situation. Like we said, both these maps looking relatively close, both of them heavily in debt. First thing they're going to want to do is get rid of all of those construction sectors if they possibly can. And he needs to cancel that consumption-based taxation law almost going through. Look at the percentage chance of that going through, and also how quick it is on the timer. He needs to move away from that pretty darn fast.
Luckily, it didn't pass. It was at 35%. So if that passed at 35%, that would be pretty unlucky for him. Not impossible, but it could have been pretty bad. One thing I do have to mention is that the TheGraveOne didn't bankrupt yet, so he hasn't had the bankruptcy yet. That might come at a disadvantage though, because right now Aldrahill is already building. He's already getting the ball rolling, and he's already building. And it's very important that you start doing the building process. And one thing to mention is that he immediately has a positive balance. He does have some debt,
yes,
but he immediately has a positive balance.
He's not building right now, but he has that positive balance. One thing also to note here is that Aldrahill has got the higher GDP to start with, despite being 60th in the world powers compared to 27th for the TheGraveOne. TheGraveOne has less GDP but is higher in prestige on the world stage today. Also, slight population dip. A 0.1 population advantage for Aldrahill. This could be Aldra's game.
Honestly, yeah. We did hear him say that he wants to go for the conquest plays. So I think that he isn't really going to go for the joining the market, as I was saying, but instead trying to just build up the market, which, of course, I think it is more of the safer play than trying to join a market. Joining a market is more of a high risk, high reward play. But if anything I've learned from playing the Europa Universalis duels is that in these situations, you have to go for the high-risk plays. But right away, if we go to Aldrahill, the USA is immediately starting a diplomatic play against him.
Oh, and it's
to
a
subjugate Mexico.
It's a
that could be good
for Dominion. Yeah, no, for Dominion, that's the better option there. Yeah,
that's actually good.
He's nodding positively there. It's like I have no problems with this. This is fantastic. Oh wow, the Mexican-US flag is nice. I like that flag. I'm so sorry.
He's part of the US market.
He's part of the US. What a timeline! What a timeline where instead of Texas being the first grab by the USA, it is Mexico. Wow, look at that. And also, again, still the GDP diff both have had now this their first bankruptcy. They're both making money. That is flatline. So we're now just everything here is line go up. Oh no, there is actually a 2 million loss of deficit there from
there's a revolt going on.
Yeah,
there's a revolt going on. But it's fine. USA will just win the war for him. Right?
Yes.
The USA is the main belligerent.
He doesn't even need to mobilize this, right? He's got the US is on his side.
The US is already in Mexico City, ready to win the war for him.
Now, is the revolutionary Mexico here going to build some buildings? Because, you know, like, revolutionary AI just will start building some buildings. Are you going to get some free, like, construction sectors and stuff out of this, do you think?
Potentially. I think that the war might happen so quickly, right? We saw that there was only 6 regiments on the side of the revolutionaries, while there's 100 regiments on Aldrahill's side, thanks to being a U.S. puppet. Dominion, actually. I'm not really sure how Dominion works. I'll be completely honest. I don't know if, as a Dominion, you can start wars. But in my perspective... You can. Okay, good.
Yes.
But in my perspective, do you even have to do wars? You're in the U.S. market. Just look at the market, see what is the highest trade good, and just build that. And just due to population growth, clothes and furniture are always in demand. And you can just spam those out.
Yes, absolutely. I want to just point out the TheGraveOne right now has 7.5 quality of life. Compared to the 9 of Aldra. So obviously that affects how many people you're pulling in through immigration. A high prosperity there will be more attractive to people. So being down to 7.6, which is probably one of the lowest in the world right now, is only going to be of detriment here. And again, the GDP is very close. One quick shout out as well to chat as well. If you are watching this and you like what Speed 5 is doing with either the Victoria 3 show that we've got on right now, or any of our Hoi shows, our EU4 shows, our CK shows, our Stellaris shows, we can't do this without you. So maybe consider becoming a sub. Also, you can get quick access to any repeat broadcasts. So if you have to maybe leave early before you can catch the stream, you can get it early by being a sub. Make sure you catch up and keep up to date with the knowledge way before it comes out on YouTube. So there's all sorts of benefits for you, and also a lovely nice role on our Discord with access to a suggestions area. There's all sorts of benefits of being a subscriber, so maybe consider it if you really like the show. Okay, plugging done. Back to the economy. And hang on, who's being invaded by Mexico? Is the TheGraveOne's being invaded? It was being invaded by Russia. There, he had to back out of that war.
He did immediately try to reclaim some of the land that he had lost. And yes, Russia did join against him. So he did have to back down. This is actually going to be quite interesting to see, because one of them is in a Dominion, the other is completely free. So there's going to be 2 completely different play styles, I think, here. One has to build up all of that raw material, has to build up all of the things they need to get the ball rolling, while one already is in the market. And if we can see Aldrahill, he's doing exactly what I'm saying. He's looking at the market tab, and he is seeing what is the best thing to build. And not only that, he's already past interventionalism, so he's no longer an agrarianism culture, agrarianism society. And yeah, he can immediately start building what he needs to build to get the ball rolling. He's already switched to iron frame construction from the wood frame construction, and he's getting some construction out and starting to build up.
Mexico was my first ever game of Victoria 3.
Really?
All the way back in when I had it for early access around, probably around PDXCon, so way before release. The first thing I did was a Mexico game, and it was some of the most fun I've had. So it's actually kind of refreshing to be seeing it played, and also from a position where they're doing already better than I did. And their nation is like 4 times as broken. So it's really cool to see. But yeah, look at this. It's Aldra here is now what, 3.8 in the GDP, with the TheGraveOne at 3.9. The GDP is flip-flopping between the two. This is kind of neck and neck right now.
It definitely is. It definitely is. The initial phases are gonna be pretty similar here. Both of them trying to get construction out, trying to get that initial industrial ball starting to go. I don't think we'll start seeing the exponential growth for another 10 to 20 years in game time.
Yeah. Also, I will say, Aldra sticking to his word, doing that speed 5 all the way right now. He's got a couple of months ahead now compared to the TheGraveOne, but that gap is also only going to grow because the TheGraveOne does keep pausing.
Yeah. The challenge here, though, is how much construction can he do without losing too much money. He is doing a little bit of debt building, the classic Victoria 3 debt building. If you can outscale the debt by building fast enough, you can take a considerable amount of debt without it spiraling out of control. It's going to be quite a challenge here to find the balance, especially if you've never played this nation before. I think that's where GraveOne will have the advantage since it is his pick. So potentially he's practiced it and he's practiced where he needs, what exactly the balance is in terms of construction and money loss.
Speaking of money loss, however, there is a crisis. The USA is here looking to revoke territories from Mexico. The angry USA, the TheGraveOne also warned about in his player interview earlier, is coming a knocking here against the TheGraveOne himself. This is, I think, revoking claims on areas of Mexico that was lost initially in the disaster phase of this game. Only now raising their troops, not going to be on the border, and the war has already broken out. This is going to be... I don't think you can get to the front line because there's no access to it from the capital. So I think this is just going to be a lost war to the USA here. Sadly, it's not a Dominion war, much like Aldra's was earlier.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to have to give up. Of course, the US's army is much bigger than Mexico's at game start. And it is a bit unlucky that the USA AI in his game decided to revoke his claims, while in Aldrahill's he decided to do a Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
And on Aldrahill, he's just looking at the market tab and just building the most in need goods.
Yeah.
However, the USA is now doing a diplomatic play against him. Wait, what is this?
Oh, he's going to try and annex him.
No, is he?
Annex
he's
Mexico,
trying to
primary demand.
Oh.
This could... Aldra could be dead here.
No,
He's managed to get...
what?
So... Oh my gosh, this is... Well, how the turns have tabled and the tables have turned. This is... So he's not even going to ask for... I love the initiator. USA, cocky. Yeah, you're damn right the USA's cocky. It's being supported by France as well, by the looks of it.
Yeah, France isn't committing to it. He's just on the supporting side, but he isn't actually committing to actually fully committing to joining on the US side. Austria is in it. Oh, nope, never mind. France is now fully committed and is now mobilizing his troops. This is now a war, Mexico, Austria versus USA and France. What happens if he gets annexed? Does he just restart from the save?
I guess so. I don't think it was codified in laws, but I'm gonna say yes. He just picks up the disaster save and tries again, which is obviously going to put him way behind in terms of final GDP possibility. But if anyone can crawl back from this, it is Aldra. We saw a great showing from him as France. Even though he didn't win, he had a fantastic clawback. So hey, and the thing is as well, he has to lose this war first. He can win this. He could turn this around and then just stay in the American market and be like, yo, chill. I'm gonna stay in your market. Everything's fine. We'll just forget about it, right? Yeah, this is cool. Now let me make some money, because right now Aldra's GDP is 5.2, with the TheGraveOne sitting at 4.6. It's so close.
incredibly close. And what he can do, and I think this is what he's planning on doing, is just garrison. There's no front lines that the America can go for except for the colonial land in the north in Colorado. And he just can basically wait out and go for the white peace potentially. America's already losing a lot of war support right off the bat. It's not over for him yet. The challenge here is if USA can open another front by doing a naval invasion. However, with conscripts now coming out from Aldrahill, he does have some kind of garrison, and naval invasions are hard to do if there is a garrison available.
Yeah, he's just going to be keeping an eye on that. And actually, the US has put its troops landing in Austria, by the looks of it, with France. There's a US French army fighting in Austria proper. So again, it's just going to be a war score, and look, it's looking to be in Aldra's favor. He can probably wait this out. Who said this would be a problem? There's a white piece. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Look at that fist bump of success there from Aldra. He is happy about that. I would be too. But it has to be said, if we flip on over to the TheGraveOne, that GDP is so close. 5.2 was Aldra's, 5 now for the TheGraveOne. This is neck and neck.
Yeah, this one is so close. In that situation there, the U.S. was burning its war support fighting in the Croatian beaches. So that was quite lucky that the U.S. decided to go navally invade Austria instead of going for the naval invasion on Mexico. But if I was the Aldrahill right now, I'd feel pretty good about that situation. Right now, we do see him changing to no migration. That is a great idea because, of course, the standard of living in Mexico is going to be less than that of the U.S. as of right now. So closing the borders will stop his people from leaving the country to go to the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good play. He's got to keep that level of population up if he needs for his GDP to kickstart in order for the later gains. Sorry, punching my mic there. I'm getting too into this. For the later gains to come in. Again, one of the things that must be said is Mexico is kind of resource rich for certain resources. One of those being sulfur. Obviously, right now the US is also pretty good on sulfur as well. There's a lot in the Michigan area, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to remember the deposits on the map. It's been a while since I played some Vicky 3, but there's some real good sulfur deposits and iron deposits in Mexico, so you can actually become the global outputter on those pretty easily if you get those mines and you can keep that population up.
On the side of Aldrahill, he did get another lucky break. He just discovered more gold, 2 gold events. He discovered more gold in the north side in Sonora twice. So he's now just going into building up those gold mines in the land that he does have. That's going to give him a nice boost to the revenue, not necessarily his GDP. And of course give him a bit of a migration boost. I was gonna say that he was losing population, but now because of those migration boosts in those states, his population is now slightly increasing. Actually, it's quite funny. It's like going up and down because I'm guessing people are leaving from his mainland, but then there are people coming in to where the gold rush events are occurring.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that has to be said. There are going to be gold promises that pick up, and gold is super potent in this game. Like you said, doesn't add to the GDP, but does to the net income, which in effect will add to the GDP because you'll be able to build more. Looking at this though, currently, again, the GDP is just neck and neck, 6.2 versus 6.1. This is so even. I think this is the most even this could be. Like, full stop. Hang on, in the TheGraveOne's game, I need to flip on over. Britain has invaded Texas and taken Texas.
British Texas, the most cursed timeline of all time.
hey, look at this. I mean, what is going to happen in the Civil War? Like, if the Civil War breaks out, what is going to be... What? Okay, TheGraveOne. What I think he needs to do is join the British market. I think he's got to join the British market at this point. I think that is the play here. Because if he can just destabilize the USA with the help of British Texas, my brain hurts on that one. But yeah, taking Texas here away from the US, they're not obviously going to get the Texas statehood. US is going to be looking for aggression elsewhere, and if he can get that support from being in the British market and being protected by Britain, I feel like it's going to just be in his benefit. Who is supporting? Oh, Russia is currently supporting the Rio Grande there against him. It was like, how do they have 70 troops on that border? He needs to back down from that war, I think.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for him. And he is going actually against what he was saying. He is doing some wars, which is slowing him down. Aldrahill now almost a 2-year in-year advantage. And both players now stockpiling money. But I do have to say that Aldrahill is making a bigger balance with more construction. So those gold mine events coming in very big for Aldrahill.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want to see how this war goes, because his armies are on aggressive right now, and his line has split. Oh no, the Russians have broken through. What's the negative if he loses? It's just war reps, but I think he just needs to capitulate and get out of that. Yep. That's a setback there for the GraveOne. That is going to be a setback, no doubt. Let's take a look now at Aldra. As you say, Aldra just kind of sitting there doing the... Oh, wow. Their GDP is neck and neck. It's literally 6.4 to 6.4 right now.
Yeah, this is an incredibly close game, Midge, man. It really is going to come down here to who can get the initial ball rolling faster. Right now, Aldrahill is focusing on the gold mines, building up the gold mines. He is right now, for some reason, pausing the construction. I believe... I'm not really sure what his plan is here, but he probably knows better than me. Has something in mind. He does have a revolution brewing. It is stuck. No, it is no longer stuck because the petit bourgeois just joined against him in the revolution.
It might be the gold mine is currently building in the province where the revolution is tending to happen, so he doesn't want to give some income to the revolution. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Real interesting to see these players juggle their construction there. And I think the GraveOne just joined the American market.
He did.
GraveOne has joined the American market, everybody. And currently the US is invading Texas. British Texas is under threat from the Americans. My brain. My brain, it hurts. It hurts. What? Oh, and the land is being taken by American Indian Territory. Like, there's the Indian Territory flag going in there. Oh my lord. Look, Paradox games are known for their cursed timelines, but I don't think I've seen one as spectacular as this so early in a Vicky game ever. And yeah, this will be very interesting to see what happens here. Going for the other tactic of possibly trying to buddy up to the USA. The USA is making a play there on California, which is going to cut the GraveOne expansion routes down heavily.
Yeah, it's already lost, once it was released. It would be very hard to gain it back, just because it's very likely that one of the nations that have interests in the region would try to defend it. And we've seen that Russia and Great Britain, both in GraveOne's game, have interest in the Mexico region and in California. So, not the biggest of losses for him, but it could be considerable, especially since California is known for this time period to get a lot of gold rush events, which could definitely benefit in getting that revenue up.
It's also one of the provinces that gets oil first. I know that's really late game. We're talking in terms of comparative where they are, but if they speed 5 it and like all the way, the last 10 minutes of this game, they might be able to sneak in some oil rigs if they went for the tech for it.
Yeah.
I think rubber's probably more likely, but
yeah, rubber. Is there rubber in Mexico? I haven't played in this region.
Yes, there are. It's actually, I think it's in the released region down the south there in the Maya in what is in the Yucatan Peninsula. Fun fact about the Yucatan Peninsula is Yucatan essentially in the native language when the I was not not explorers, the conquistadors came over. They asked what the area of Yucatan was called, and they said Yucatan. And what they were actually saying is, I don't understand you. So it is the I don't understand you peninsula. That's my fun fact of the day.
That is quite a fun fact. That's hilarious. Right now, though, GraveOne is edging up in the terms of GDP. It's 6.9 million to 7.5. Scratch that, 7 million to 7.5. Now 7.1. And I think that the GraveOne joining the U.S. market, I think now that this is much more even game. Not being in another market, you do, like I was saying before, you have to build more of the raw goods. While being in the market, you can just focus on the luxury goods more than the raw goods. Of course, that being said, raw goods do sometimes have high value, especially if the AI is messing up and not getting the things they want. And it's another diplomatic play from the US to annex Mexico.
Oh, that's gonna be rough there for Aldra. So close to getting those positive relations as well, which would make them far less likely to be. I think if you get the relations to good, they physically can't do the annex diplo play. So that's unfortunate. But again, he's beat them once. He can beat them again. But it is going to tank his GDP to do so in terms of gain. Now, as well, we're seeing the GraveOne start to get that ball rolling, being in the US market. Having that already somewhat higher foundation has really, really helped. Now that joining the market, their resource prices have cut. Everything is starting to exponentially grow. They've just got to not fall into the same trap as Aldra here and just get some spiraling wars against the USA. Because also, the thing is here, the difference between Aldra and the GraveOne's Mexico, GraveOne's Mexico actually borders the US proper, so an army can just push on through.
He's gonna try to go for the ticking war score again. If he doesn't allow a naval invasion to happen, he can once again get the white piece. This time he doesn't have Austria helping him or backing him. But he hasn't done any of the conscripts, so if the USA just does one naval invasion, they will successfully land, unfortunately. So this is going to be quite a challenge for Aldrahill to stay independent here.
Yeah, it's going to be a little rough. It's just got to be down to that ticking war score and hopes and prayers. Aldra there got a lot of consumption taxes going. I'm not sure how wise that is. That's going to hit against the standard of living. Obviously, standard of living is going to change dissidence. Level dissidence will affect the GDP. I feel like that, yes, it's quick gain of cash, but I don't think it's the right way of trying to gain that quick cash. I suppose maybe while you're trying to support an army, yes, but I think I'd just stop building while you're at war here, and fingers crossed the US give up quickly.
Yeah, unfortunately, the USA isn't on the beaches of Croatia tanking their war support this time, so it's going to be more of a slog waiting for USA to want that white piece.
Yeah, absolutely. GraveOne now currently really struggling in terms of ports. Their convoys are like horribly tanked, if you can see. They're in the negative there. Need to open up some more ports. Again, I feel like the GraveOne, whilst on paper, looks great right now. Almost breaking that 10 million. The GDP is rolling. They have a huge land border with the USA right now. And I feel like that might come to be the Achilles heel in this.
It could definitely, if he's unlucky like Aldrahill's been unlucky, it could be a problem for him. But as of right now, actually he is able to give potentially war reps to the USA to get out of this. I'm not sure what he's going to do. Funny thing about Victoria 3 is if you're in another nation's market, you actually stay in their market if they declare war on you. Funnily enough. Not sure how that works, but but yeah, he's still building.
I think Britain is a good example there. I think we declared a war on a lot of people that were, in air quotes, in our market, and they didn't have a chance to leave. I I think that's just kind of status quo of this very imperialistic period, unfortunately. But yeah, TheGraveOne is actually tearing away now in GDP. There's almost a 2 million difference now. Like you said, that ball has started rolling, and that is going to be really, really starting to get harder and harder for Ultra to catch up for. But if there's any man that can do it, like we said last time, it will be Ultra. He made an excellent comeback last time. He can do it again. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, and the USA is willing to give a white piece. Yep, there it is. White piece given to the USA. So he's once again out of war with the USA. I think this is going to keep happening until he can get the USA to his opinion up. It's going to be pretty important to do so. What goods is the TheGraveOne building right now? It could be the difference maker here.
So the TheGraveOne seems to be doing it's hard to say, but they're currently looking at market. They're looking at their market, and they're importing iron and wood. I did see some glass factories, and I did see some clothing factories. I'm guessing it's going to be quite a lot of luxury clothing that they've been building. Arms industries currently, actually. But I wish I could open the overview myself and have a look at what they've built.
Yeah, I think it's gonna really this is part of an RNG aspect of this run, both of them being in the US market. Really, the RNG aspect of what they build will be in demand in the US market, because if one thing is in demand and then suddenly it's not in demand, suddenly those very profitable glass workshops are going to suddenly not be profitable. Of course, there are some goods that just remain high value throughout the game. One of them is clothing, just because in places where the population is growing, people need clothes. Another one is groceries. One thing Aldrahill does have to worry about, though, is that the USA is going for Rio Grande. So if the USA decides to do another NX war, he now has a direct land border with him, and the white peace option is going to be out of the question.
Yep, they're both in the same boat now, which is, again, it's tense. And currently, in terms of how RNG has been going, it's worse for Aldra in terms of, US aggression. But it has to be said, right now, the US hates the TheGraveOne more. If possibly the streaming studio could switch us to the TheGraveOne's view, I again have lost control. Yes, I am having technical difficulties on my end, ladies and gentlemen. It is we'll bring up the other perspective as soon as possible. There we go.
Yeah, we can see.
If we look at go for it.
It's a 2 million GDP difference now for the TheGraveOne. He is edging ahead, and not only that, the year advantage for Aldrahill has gone. One thing that Aldrahill is doing now is he's building a lot of barracks. He's really afraid of another independence. An annexation war happening from USA. He's improving relations again with Austria, since they, for some reason, are the most likely to help him. Meanwhile, the TheGraveOne is just building more high luxury goods. It seems that he's building engines, which of course with the US building a lot of railways, that could be very, very profitable very fast.
Absolutely. 10 million GDP now. Which compared to what's Aldra running in terms of GDP?
He's hovering around 8 million. He just dropped 0.3 million, and then he's going up again. This is the funny part of being in another person's market, is that your GDP just really fluctuates so much. It goes up, Absolutely. It goes down, it goes up, it goes down.
I wonder what I notice here on the TheGraveOne, he is promoting capitalists into he is promoting capitalists heavily in his society to try and grow those. I wonder if Aldra's doing the same, or if they're going for a different route in terms of the political group that they want in charge.
No,
personally,
it doesn't seem he is.
I don't know. Is capitalist the way you want to go with this, or do you want to try and I think I'd personally try and boost the petty bourgeoisie and go full aristocrat.
That is honestly could be a good strategy. Personally, I think that going for the capitalists in this stage of the game is the best play if you're trying to just get as much GDP as possible. One thing I do have to say is that you don't actually have to directly boost them. If you just build factories, they will just grow because factories automatically create capitalists, and the more capitalists there are, the more potential capitalists you can have. The thing is, if you're as long as you're not an agrarian or below in terms of economic law, the capitalists will boost your income by contributing to your to the investment pool. So I think that's what he's trying to do by getting the capitalists in favor.
Yeah, investment pool building, especially if you get a laissez-faire economy, is very, very potent. We see in here on the TheGraveOne's ends of the USA looking to clean up. Oh no, that's TheGraveOne actually invading California. He has managed to get some of it. The USA that's gonna cause some tension, I think, between the two. And I will not be surprised if we see a war jumping out. Let's take a jump over to Aldrahill's perspective and have a look what's going on there. Again, that tentative land of is the Rio Grande, like now that there's a land border, if the US come a knocking again, and the US are currently knocking on California's doors, not Mexico's, but are we going to see a land invasion very soon? I see Aldra tactically building up a lot of military barracks there just to try and put a number of men on the line. Mexico is very mountainous, so if you can get a very good defensive leader, there is a chance you can hold out, but it's going to be rough.
Very rough, especially if you're not up to date on the technology, military technology. One thing I do have to mention is that the US is probably declaring war on Aldrahill a bunch, because when he did become a dominion of the US, he ended up deleting all of his barracks to increase his income, which probably led the AI to declare more often on him, actually. So it might have been a backfire there. And as I was mentioning before, while the TheGraveOne is building more industry, investing into military right now, it's not going to boost your GDP. As a matter of fact, it will probably have the opposite effect, because you're decreasing your revenue since you will have more soldiers you need to pay.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, now the gap is growing ever bigger in the TheGraveOne's favor. I think the TheGraveOne might be pulling this away. With 24 minutes left, there's still a lot of room for maneuver, and a lot of things can go wrong in this time, but we're looking at a 4 million difference now.
Yeah.
That's really, really astonishing work there from the TheGraveOne, especially as also the quality of life in Mexico for the TheGraveOne earlier was like 7.6. It's now 12.7. which is ahead of the quality of life now and the standard of living, in Aldra's territory, which is 10.5. Oh,
yeah. Hopefully, right here as Aldrahill, you need to get USA to at least cordial. Right now, he's still at neutral at -5, now -4. These barracks have really slowed him down. Ever since he started building the barracks, his GDP barely has grown, 500,000. And just by the nature of the conquest, Aldrahill is at a disadvantage compared to TheGraveOne, since TheGraveOne has more of their initial Mexican land.
Yep, absolutely. Again, I think it's really too early for us to call it, but it's starting to look like the TheGraveOne is pulling away, and I think a lot of it's down to that RNG. However, if Aldra can secure that cordial relation and make sure that the US is finally off his back, he can be less in a defensive stance. He can really focus his industry, and we'll see the ball really start rolling again.
Yeah. One thing that's keeping Aldrahill in equal position is that he's gotten luckier with the gold mine events and gold rush events, which has led him to keep the population steady. Of course, he has now closed the borders, so that's no longer coming into play. So no longer are people coming into his country, but that did keep him, despite losing California, despite losing New Mexico, despite losing Nevada, still kept him only 0.5 million pop. Right now, it really comes down to picking the right goods. So hopefully the US doesn't declare war again, because that will really mess him up here. But just picking the right goods, and there is an RNG aspect here to it, because you can pick the right goods, then suddenly for some reason the US AI decides to build that too, and since supply of that good goes up, the price of that good will go down, and that will of course affect his GDP. So diversifying is definitely a good strategy here, but you need to now, oh no, it happened again. It has happened again.
Here
USA
it
is
comes,
declaring.
the Star-Spangled Banner is coming to kick ass and take names, and that name is Aldrahill. This is looking a little bit rough there.
He has a direct land border.
Going theocracy? What is he going for here? But how, right, what does the US want? What does the US want? Is it an annexation war? And
I believe it's another
anyone on his
annexation
side?
war.
Can he get anyone on his side?
He was improving some relations, but there's right now no one willing to join on his
It's
side.
annoying because like his like opinion with the USA is so close. Like it was very close to being at a point where it's not going. I see why he was going theocracy. He's going to cause a revolution and possibly save himself by going for a revolution. Big brain play there from Aldra.
I really like that. That is honestly such a smart play. If he can get this revolution brewing, he can potentially switch sides, or even get the U.S. on his side on diplomatic play, canceling the U.S.'s diplomatic play because he's still a dominion. But the question is, will the revolution happen fast enough?
It's got 200% critical, so it's gonna be so close. It's gonna
And
be
there
so,
you go.
so close.
And now
He got it.
This is such a strange situation. The
So-
U.S. is now.
On both
Wait.
sides?
He's now.
The US is on both sides.
What happens here?
I don't know. Somehow.
What's happening
somehow
here?
Aldra has not only broken the save in the allotted time to break the TheGraveOne save, but he has broken his own save. Well, this is save the save after all, and some expert maneuvering of these mechanics has gone interestingly. Wait, no, okay. The other diplomatic play has fired, but the Civil War one hasn't. Maybe he needs to survive out before the Civil War happens. He's thinking, you can tell the brain, he's thinking, he's like, there was a cheer there, there's something there, it's something going on there, like what?
I believe that if the U.S. joins this one, the first war gets canceled because you can't be on the same side. I think that's what happens. I've never been in this situation, so we're going to figure out together. This is new territory for me. It's going to happen, and both wars.
Both wars are happening, but one war is going to be giving land to him. One land war is going to be taking it away.
I'm not sure what's happening here.
My brain hurts. My brain hurts quite a lot right now, and I am. So the US is just attacking both.
Somehow he's against the USA and on the same side as the USA.
And there's a third civil war that's brewing as well for a presidential republic.
What happens then, Midgeman?
If you look at chat, if you can't tell, my metaphorical nose is bleeding right now. I think even Aldra doesn't know quite how badly he's broken this. But there's the capitulation. But the peace has gone in. So the US won him his civil war, and now he's going to capitulate the other one. He's talking to himself there. He's like trying to air out what he's got to do. So now he's just got to survive long enough for the next one to go, and he's just going to be in 34.
He has 34 unassigned troops right now, so there's actually nothing on his border, but he's gaining back land. For some reason, somehow he's gaining back land?
The US troops will have all demobilized because he was fully capitulated and then the other war ended. So the US troops were off of those borders. His troops weren't. So they're not deployed. His troops are. So he's gained the territory back. Isn't going to capitulate right now.
The U.S. is back on the border, though, now. And that's 126 regiments to 33 regiments.
And they've put some in the border behind as well. There's 100 there. He's trying to switch them over in time.
Stop the push!
We can't switch. No, there's the damn it from Aldra. Look, these big brain plays. He's going to have to capitulate.
No.
I think this means he's going to have to load up the save. But there's only 16 minutes left. Wait, he's not dead. What is going on? Does he just play as the US? No. What's he do now? Do we make him play as the Rio Grande there? Or the Maya, the other nation? Either way, there we go.
Oh, he's
out.
been pushed
His game
of
over.
the screen.
So I think Aldra here has to load up the disaster save and try to do better in the time left. 16 minutes left to try and get to a GDP of currently 13 million for the TheGraveOne. So let's quickly go over to, not Aldra again, but to the TheGraveOne and see how he's been doing in all this time. He's just been sitting pretty. The US isn't angry with him, nor is Russia. There's currently a civil war in Rio Grande, and he's just sitting pretty. Again, 13.8 million GDP right there.
Yeah. That was actually quite insane. If you saw that, he was 3 war support away from securing a white peace. 3 before that other border opened. I believe USA did a naval invasion somewhere, and there was just no garrison, so they just were immediately successful because they just came out, popping out from the west side of Mexico just randomly. Yeah, really unfortunate. He was 3 war support away from securing a white peace. 3, and then that probably would have given him enough time to get to at least cordial with the US and stopping these wars of annexation. And he has loaded up the broken save, 4 million GDP to 14 million.
Yep, there is currently a conversation going on of whether
he can maybe open an autosave.
Whether he's going to cede the win to TheGraveOne or if he's going to try his darndest. But every minute that passes, it becomes even harder to do. What play? Such RNG there on the fact that essentially they ended up in the same scenario there. In terms of borders and opinions, yet the US triggered not a Dominion war on TheGraveOne's Mexico, just border claim wars, and Aldra's got
he got a Dominion war,
and Aldra's just got and then tried to be annexed multiple times. I guess that's running the risk of being Dominion rather than just flat in the market.
Yeah. I think that at first it came into his advantage. However, him deleting his barracks kind of just made the U.S. think that he was very easy war for him. And then as soon as he got a border, then that was it. And he was trying to get cordial relations the entire time. It wasn't like he wasn't trying. It just he didn't have enough time. He just didn't have enough time to get the possible relations.
Yep. Yeah. Meanwhile, we're looking at the TheGraveOne, and TheGraveOne is still clicking so fast because the TheGraveOne here has no idea what's going on with Aldra. That's the thing. And look at these motor industries. Look at the motor industries he's pumping out. Holy moly! You want a car? Yeah. It's being made in Mexico.
Right now it's the great western frontier for USA, building a lot of railways, so it's going to be a good that the US needs a lot of. So shipping Mexican rail cars could be very, very lucrative, and potentially I think that he can break the 25 million GDP mark if he continues going at this pace. And as I was saying, diversifying is probably a good idea, but if you're going for the high risk, high reward play, picking one good to prioritize in could end up being better for you if the AI is not building them.
Building it.
Again,
Yes.
yeah, it could go badly if you end up going, let's say, all into luxury furniture, and then suddenly the US for some reason starts building luxury furniture. And it seems that Aldrahill is just starting from the beginning.
Yeah, he's starting from where he left off. He's just trying to get... I just watched TheGraveOne got the achievement Poor Huddled Masses, apparently. Yeah, he's going to try and climb from the autosave there. There's been a couple of suggestions going back and forth, and it's one of the things now that the game masters of this in the background are going to be working out into the rule set of, is it okay that they have like one save scum to their name, like where they can go back a year perhaps, in terms of auto saves, or if they have to always restart from the point it was destroyed at. So that's going to be worked out for possible future versions of this format. Of course, this is the pilot. And guys, again, if you are enjoying this, if you have enjoyed tonight's broadcast and you want to see more of this show and many more, the best way you can do that is supporting us through being a sub, and maybe make some suggestions, improve this format yourself, and come on over to the Discord, where our subs have a lovely little suggestion room, where they can talk to our game masters and producers and all those fun people who make these shows happen, and go, hey, this is what you need to do to make this correct or better. And and I know the Paradox community, we all know, or at least we all think we know how to make something better. And we're adamant about talking about it on forums. So, I think that's a perfect role for you, chat. So maybe become a sub and join us in the discussion and help, make these events your own wildest dreams. There you go.
Do you know what they say in the industry, Midgeman?
Which industry is that?
The streaming industry.
Oh no! What did they say?
Twitch Prime, it's not a crime.
Okay, a Twitch Prime is not a crime. There we have it. I'm gonna start using that. I'm totally gonna start using that. I like that. Looking at the interesting government as well for the TheGraveOne here, I noticed it's capitalist and the military. I think that's a really strong choice for Mexico.
Yeah.
Even though the government stability was down, you can really push through some laws that will really help you out. Looking at those positive relations with the US and Russia, there's a good chance that, they're not going to get declared on now. It's going to be just sitting pretty and growing that economy. Look at that, 15.8 million now as well. That's really nice. So looking at both these games, what do you think you would have tried to done maybe differently to these two to try and get more GDP out of this?
I think both were able to join the market, right? I think that one thing that I noticed was both were building a lot of raw material. I really would have just went for the high risk, high reward play and just ignored the cryingness of like your market being like, we need iron, we need coal, and just completely ignored it and done three things. I would have built luxury furniture, actually four things: luxury furniture, luxury clothes, porcelain, and groceries.
Poor Olja already being subjugated by the Americans again.
This time they just want a treaty port.
Oh,
yeah.
Again, the RNG. Stop it. He's already dead. He's already dead. Oh, poor Olja. But yeah, okay. So you're saying focus on those luxury goods?
Yeah, so of course, early on especially, you're going to see a lot of demand needs for your market. Like, they're going to be like, we need iron, we need coal, we need whatever. The thing is, the AI will try to solve that. So if you're in the US market, for example, they will try to solve that. And if you just build the high-level goods, they will be in demand. Then they will have... they will make a lot of money. And even if initially they won't and you will see GDP fluctuation, I think that would be like the fastest way to get an insane GDP is focusing on those luxury goods.
Okay. And now that we've had the experience of watching this game mode for quite a while, what nation do you think is like an elite choice of what to pick in terms of a nation, both in the ruining scenario where you set yourself off in a place, you know, with Mexico, where they both ended up with a very, very similar start to work with, but also one where you've got the most like headroom. I think Mexico is a really good choice. I just wonder if you've now you've had time to ponder on it. There's perhaps some other choices that come to mind that we might see in future formats of this show.
Ottomans, definitely. Ottomans, they start with the Oriental Crisis and also the Tasmanat reforms. So not only do you need to fix the save, you also have things that you need to just fix just by the nature of the country. Another good suggestion that actually a chatter has said, Firelord, is Japan. They're in a closed market. So you literally have to build everything from the get-go. And even if their save isn't ruined, I think that there's some people that have been able to like reform Japan in like 30 years. But, you know, seeing how much time they can get done in 1 hour, with a ruined save, I think it would be so hard as Japan to get the ball rolling. If you have like a strategy, of course, like if you have a strategy ready to immediately try to get the Meiji Restoration, I think you could get a huge edge over your opponent by opening your market and etc. One thing I would do if I was a player is I would ruin the save and then play my own ruined save as a practice for my own choice, at least. But yeah,
I think that's a really solid piece of advice there, like training with your own ruin save, or get a friend to ruin the save for you.
Yeah. If you're doing it for yourself, you just got to do exactly what you would do to the other player. You know, don't pull any punches.
Yeah, absolutely. I think personally, I would try to maybe master a nation that isn't that's particularly quite hard to ruin. Like one of the things that they found, what the TheGraveOne was saying in the initial game here, was how with Mexico, he was like, oh, I think our save starts are going to be a lot more similar this time around, because with France, it was so big that there was more things to ruin within the time. So maybe somewhere where it's, you know, not... So there is like an actual physical limit on how ruined it can be, so you know what to expect. And then you just perfect the like expansion game from there, and the actual GDP growth game, which is obviously where more of the time in this event goes. So I'm thinking maybe something like South Africa, or something like that, where there's not many nations nearby that can still invade you or will ever be stronger than you to invade you, but you're still within the British market, so you've got that high-end growth room. Like the ruining isn't going to be particularly too bad, and you just really hone in that ability to grow your GDP and actually focus on the second part rather than the first half.
Yeah. When are we going to see the Krakow choice from a player? What can...
Do they start
what can you do? No, they start as part of the Austrian market, so that's like another one where it's like you could potentially get a high GDP if you just focus on certain goods and you get lucky. But yeah, like there's what can you ruin really? What can you even ruin on that nation?
I don't know. Serbia could be a good one because they actually start with claims as well.
Yeah. You could even do, you know, the one you were saying, South Africa, is actually a really good one. You could even do something like Sokoto.
Or one of the Canadas.
One of the Canadas, too. Canada, I believe Hudson Bay has nothing to release. So if you just have, like, if you have, like, a really good strat for playing Canada, it's like, oh, they can't really ruin much, but I know that I will be able to build Canada better because I've practiced it. That might guarantee you the win, right? At least one win.
Exactly. At least one win, and sometimes that might be all you need as well. Like, because the mental of these kind of games, like once you lose one, some players get really put on a back foot on that. But yeah, we're entering the last 2 minutes here. It's gonna be a clear TheGraveOne victory, I think, at this point, almost at 20 million GDP. But Ultra has also managed to get up to 5 million. It's not looking too bad considering they've had at least one war already with the USA in their restart time. again, solid competition here from Aldra in both senses. Really, unfortunately, just got RNG'd, which is, you know, kind of the nature of a Paradox game sometimes. Sometimes RNG is gonna RNG, which is just an element you can never account for when doing these scenarios.
Yeah, and he was able to join the American market this time without being a Dominion. So he was in the same position. As I say that, oh no, actually, I thought it was going to be another U.S. war. It's actually French-American war, curious enough. But yeah, it was kind of a RNG aspect that really ruined Aldrahill. Like USA deciding to do 4 NX wars, that's a bit unlucky, I think.
Yeah, considering TheGraveOne didn't ever face 1. Yeah. I think that's a bit of the AI going, no, I'm deciding who wins and who loses today, because they were so even on GDP for a long time, and it just, every war was like a 2 million GDP advantage to TheGraveOne until right at the end where Aldra was actually capitulated out. But the final minute here, and again, Aldra, I think he knows that the clock has been ticked for him. It just has to be said, what a fantastic fantastic showing from both players today on this our pilot tester episode for even the concept and its ability to stand up. And I've actually really enjoyed watching it. The intensity of the braking period is like, my heart races when people are destroying those saves, and also my PDX like player brain of watching someone ruin something is it's like, I don't know what to do. My mind goes, no, this isn't right. I don't like it. Stop breaking it, please.
One thing I do have to mention is that time goes so fast. I already said this, but that time goes so fast. It feels like when we're in the saving phase, 5 minutes feels like a normal 5 minutes. But
yeah, absolutely.
Aldrahill.
But speaking of time going so fast, we're done. That's it. They have to stop. And the winner is TheGraveOne with a flat 22 million GDP to 6 million from Aldra. That's actually not a bad comeback considering he completely lost the nation as well. Wow. Again, what we were saying, excellent games from both of them. Honestly, I want to see them try again themselves on different nations, different times. But Habibi, again, final words on these 2 games that we've seen today.
I think we saw it in the very end. Aldrahill, he was able to climb that GDP a lot faster because he just focused on those really expensive goods. Yeah, like you have some deficiencies, but the USA just like fixes them. The AI tries to fix them itself, and you can see he climbed GDP really fast because of it. And I think that players going forward, they're going to be using that a lot, that strat more often, where you pick a nation that's already in a market and you just focus on really luxury goods. You can get GDP really fast that way.
Yeah,
but
absolutely,
great showing.
Absolutely.
Great showing.
Yeah, absolutely great showing. Let's invite the studio in to have a conversation with us as well.
Okay, what do you guys want to talk about?
I want to talk about, what did you guys think watching where you guys are this first showing?
Well, so I do whenever we do a new show, I'm always really like worried about the rules, because there's one thing of like putting rules down on paper, and then there's another thing actually seeing if it works. I'm pretty happy with the amount of like rule tweaks it seems like we need, meaning not that many. We should figure out exactly how we want the players that are, game over, how we want them to come back into the game, because of course it is super fun when Aldrahill at 12 minutes in, almost loses to the US, but it's fun when he claws it back. It's just really boring if that happens 35 minutes in. So we have some ideas about how to do that for next week. Another thing I found interesting, I'm sorry, I'm just saying all of it. Actually,
I could just sit here and look pretty.
No, just you say one of the things you found interesting first. I'm not.
I think it's interesting that nobody took Habibi's approach to it, because I feel like he had a good point and how to kind of drag your country back, and it was interesting that nobody listened to him.
It's the classic caster curse.
Yeah, yeah, and well, the thing is as well, what we'll know is like Habibi, if you ever take part in this particular game mode, you're going to be one scary person to play against because you've got to have all this vision of being the caster, and you've seen how it done, and you've had these theories. I'd hate to fight you in it.
I honestly prefer being a caster.
Let's
You know
I
what's
prefer being a
funny?
caster.
Leith says the same thing, as he actually likes being on the caster side of it than having to be in the player side of things. So I can understand that.
So, guys, before we let you go, I'd like each of you to give me like one play that you were impressed with today. Midge, what are you going to take with you?
I just from how ruined the France that Aldra was handed, to how he ended up making 40 million GDP by the end of it, was just a sight to behold. Even though it wasn't the winning score, it was just like I think I said it multiple times that would have made me throw my PC out, let alone that save game. So that was just a fantastic showing.
My one play would just have to be GraveOne ruining France that fast. It was actually, we were trying to cast everything and try to also catch what Aldrahill was doing, but GraveOne was just click, 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 ruin relation with the entire world, destroy the economy, triple bankruptcy. That was insane, and I think a lot of players playing this in the future got to see GraveOne's perspective and just copy what he did as France. And I think people are going to avoid the big countries because of how much you can ruin them.
That is a good point.
Yeah, we're going to let you go before we do. Habibi, we will see you again next week. Midgeman, you're essentially subbing in for Count Christo, so next week we'll have another Brit sitting and talking with Habibi. But thank you so much for taking part in this first pilot episode.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure.
You know what? Our players also took part in this first pilot episode. And at the end of the day, GraveOne took both of those, first France and then Mexico. What was your experience?
Anxiety, for sure. Especially after you get like this nation. Like I don't know how he played it, but I paused the game and then I just was like, what do I do now? And then just had like create a plan for like 5 minutes before like I unpaused it and was like, okay, let's do a whole bunch of stuff before we even play. But it was anxiety producing for sure.
Aldra, that RNG, I'm so sorry. It was amusing to watch,
so
but
much
to
fun.
be the player, that had to have been very
it
frustrating.
was super fun. I was really trying to game it and try to, I'm not sure if you guys saw to spawn a revolution right at the end so as to catch it, but I don't think I thought it through properly, so I still got destroyed. But it was really fun to manipulate, and I should have just become a protectorate. Why did I become a dominion?
One of the things I wanted to ask both of you of is because, of course, this is the first time we're doing it, and we've said in the game design document between me and Count Chris as well, it's like, today we're playing GDP, and we're not doing GDP next week. How different do you think these games are going to be if we swap to something like, say, standard of living or something more military related? Are you going to use this kind of the same strategy in both ruining and building, or is it going to be very different? What do you think, GraveOne?
I think standard of living is going to be really hard to recover because like I practically like ignored it the entire time. I had radicals the entire time because of standard of living, and I think that week will be the hardest week. I would ruin the same way. Military wise, I think people will ruin in different ways and definitely not do what we did where we were like, hey, let's not do wars, and then we honored it, because I think that's going to be a big one people are going to do.
And Aldra, do you agree, or do you have a different take on it?
I'd definitely not pick, like the caster said, pick a giant nation that could be 10 times bankrupt. I'd pick something perhaps a little smaller for standard of living anyway, join a market, but still pretty much ruin the same way. I can see how wars would just devastate you, though.
Well, we have 4 more weeks of this. Well, actually, we have 3 more weeks of this because this is a 4-week show, if I remember my scheduling correctly. We are going to swap out some players between episodes, but I'm sure, well, I know for a fact that we're going to have both GraveOne and Aldrahill back for some of the later episodes. Thank you guys so much for taking part, and GraveOne, once again, congratulations for winning this pilot episode where winning means nothing except for looking really impressive, which at the end of the day means everything.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
That was a good first week, I feel like.
It was.
Of a brand new show.
I like that everyone was saying it was anxiety-inducing and horrible.
Absolutely.
And then when I heard that, I giggled. Which,
Of course you did.
Which means you know that you're in a bit of a weird business where you're like, yes, I got someone to feel anxiety.
Yes.
It's not
We ruined someone for an evening.
not something to be proud of, but here we are. We should do the spiel where we talk about if people like what we're doing, how they should support us. What can they do?
Yeah, so guys, if you like what we're doing, make sure to subscribe to our Twitch channel. First and foremost, that allows you to get these videos back sooner. If you would like to rewatch some of them, that means you could do it immediately. And also you can go onto our Discord. Make sure that you are joining our Discord. We have some challenges going on right now. There are subscriber channels and whatnot. So if you like any of this, if you want to play it yourself, we will actually be putting in the GraveOne's save into our Victoria 3 discussion. So if you like what we're doing, subscribe, get onto our Discord. You can talk to us. You get all the fun little things that we're doing on there. We have a lot of challenges going on, something that we will be announcing either tomorrow or Friday. And then our next show is going to be Masters of the Universalis on Monday at 1600 CET.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. And if you, as Lady Magna said, if you enjoyed what we do, you know what? Do all of the stuff she said, but also just tell a friend. Like tomorrow at lunch, be like, I watched this really a dumb thing. You should go watch it too.
I watched this guy that likes to torture the players.
Yeah, exactly. Do
All
that.
right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And we will see you all Monday afternoon. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.